The House of Representatives has resolved to investigate the alleged diversion of 20 billion naira through what it called shady consultancy by the staff of NNPC Limited. The resolution follows a motion moved by Ibrahim Kawu calling for an investigation to address the alleged payment of 20 billion naira to the consultants by the NNPC Limited. But the company has said that it did not pay any ghost consultants, noting that there is an 18 billion naira dispute with Ogun State, which is currently in court. Right. Well, the Senate has also indicted NNPC Limited for poor record keeping for crude oil deliveries to some refineries worth just over 102 billion naira. Well, joining us now for more on these stories is Arise analyst Frank Tietie. Frank Tietie, you're well positioned to help us understand exactly what this is all about. Thank you very much for joining us. Well, not too long ago, this current president, Muhammadu Buhari, said the NNPC Limited has two accounts, one for the public and one for the insiders. One would imagine that now that NNPC is now NNPCL, that all of that really would have changed. But we're hearing all of this coming from this new NNPC.
They still dwell in the realm of allegations because the matters of facts that are reported that are verifiable as a result of the new regime of the NNPC under military has been totally different. It has been a story of commendation for transparency, especially. I think I'm a member of the Civil Society Steering Committee of the Nigerian Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, under which the NNPC has featured very well. It has met all of its obligations in terms of reporting standards, conforming to reporting standards. The NNPCL today can boast that since 2015, it has not only published its financial reports on a monthly basis, on an annual basis, but also on a monthly basis. So the signpost of the NNPC for a long time now, particularly since 2015, has been that of extreme transparency, and that's why it comes as a surprise when the House of Representatives will intend to investigate. Not necessarily that it has anything concrete, but only making an intention, thereby trying to, give
but it's
credence.
Not wrong to investigate.
Oh, no. But you see, you don't give credence to sensational journalism. When you say who alleged, is an unknown person, making allegations and then reported in an online newspaper, and then you take that to the House, the National Assembly, House of Representatives to exercise the powers under Section 88 and 89. And I think it's making it trifles the entire thing. Don't forget that this is not the first time people make very spurious allegations of running into billions of missing money in the NNPC, because that's the only way some people trying to get headlines, just make one sweeping statement about the NNPC, and when eventually they go into the investigation, nothing happens. In this case, the House of Representatives didn't even go further to set up a committee to do any investigation, but rather just made a resolution to intend to investigate based on a mere allegation, contrary to the factual situation. That is, NNPC's books are open to 247. Open not only to the government officials, to the civil society organization, and to the international community. And that's the reason why NNPC is enjoying the kind of international reputation it has today. For over 44 years, we had a national oil company that hasn't made profit, because it has operated with a high level of opacity. But here comes a man, Mele Kyari, taking over the reins of affairs in the NNPC, sworn to transparent operations, and then moves NNPC to declaring profit for the first time, and then moves on to tripling that profit in just a pace of 1 year. So it baffles imagination that the House of Representatives would not be that deep, would not be that thorough about a mere allegation in an online newspaper. I think that should have been well investigated.
When we sit here, we try to also trivialize and say online newspaper. First, this is the NNPC we're talking about. We're talking about the nation's cash cow, and the president doubles as the Minister of Petroleum. And whenever issues like these are raised, we also must pause and give, blow by blow points to counter whether online or mainstream media. So the case here has to do with what they call ghost consultants. So the NNPC should come clear on this. Have you been able to check that, since with your civil society, group, to see if truly there are ghost consultants that have sucked up 20 billion naira?
Is it not ludicrous for anybody to think that the procurement process in a commercial entity like the NNPC will be that opaque to the extent that ghost persons will appear as consultants?
It's not ludicrous. My background we've seen that.
My background is first of all
Nigeria.
in law before civil society, and the point is that he who alleges must prove. Who is the person making this allegation now? You talk about an unknown staffer that doesn't have a name. And then he goes to, make a statement to a member of the House of Representatives who goes to the floor of the House of Representatives to make a resolution for an intention. Why does that happen?
Right. Well,
I don't want to be an apologist for the NNPC. However, because of my involvement in the extractives, knowing that the NNPC has set a pace in transparency in terms of public accounting reporting, to the extent that the EITI has recognized that, in fact, much of the progress that Haiti can actually boast of is the conformity of the NNPC to accounting standards in terms of extractives in the oil and gas sector.
Right, let's talk about these consultants. They may not be ghosts, but the NNPC does have consultants, right?
Oh, certainly.
Certainly. What exactly do they do for the NNPC? And then the NNPC, in pushing back this allegation, has said that there is an 18 billion naira dispute with Ogun State, which of course the oil company says is before it now. Does this 18 billion naira have anything to do? Does it have any bearing with the 20 billion naira that's said to have been paid to
seems to be the only thing of substance in that report. And if you actually read it, you'll see how sensational journalism can actually give misleading headlines. In that matter, it wasn't really dealing with the NNPC directly, but a subsidiary of the NNPC, that is the PPMC. And that was before.
It's still the NNPC.
Of course, yes, a subsidiary, but let's get it clear.
Right.
And now, with its operations that had to do with some expected remittances in terms of taxation to states, expectation, which the NNPC disputes. And on that basis, wherever there's conflict between parties and entities involved in business, where do they go to? They go to arbitration or they go to litigation. In this case, the matter is in court. So a pending case is not something you can actually make outright statements that will prejudice the decision of the court.
What exactly is the 18 billion?
It's a claim by Ogun State government that it is certain money in terms of taxation that accrues to it, that is not being paid to it. And however, it has had, Ogun State, gives a preview that it has had information that other consultants are being paid by certain monies in terms of the transition of NNPC from where it used to operate as a public company, as a government-owned company, now to a fully commercial company. Now, it is a complaint, and those matters are before the court, and they'll be litigated upon until the court makes a decision. So that is not in dispute at all. What is really ludicrous, and which is, judging from the Sanusi days of alleging that NNPC was not being able to account for $20 billion, and it turned out then the man started rigmaroling. It turned out to $10 billion, and then eventually it turned out to $0. We shouldn't be embarrassed. We should be, tired of being embarrassed by all of these spurious claims by
but
officials.
the Senate accuses the NNPCL of poor record keeping, and also indicted the National Oil Company, of course, for crude oil deliveries, that it has not exactly been very open.
Again. So
deliveries.
How for in my own situation, because I'm very proud of the NNPC, working in the extractives myself, because if you make a freedom of information request to the NNPC, you get all of the details. Again, you don't even have to make that request, because the NNPC makes its time to publish these financial transactions with regards to its operations on a monthly basis before you have the annual report. So expectedly, I expect that the Senate should be saying it made a request for certain pieces of information and the NNPC didn't give it, rather than just making these allegations openly. So I think the NNPC now prides itself on transparency, that it is open on, in fact, without asking, it makes the pieces of information available. And I think that's why it's enjoying the kind of credit it's having in the international community today. Despite the topsy-turvydom in the energy sector across the entire world, you see how the NNPC has managed to keep Nigeria afloat from having a very dire energy crisis. And so it's
so quickly,
whatever
we're closing. If we can do this in a minute or less than a minute, how can the NNPC get itself clean of this? Because of all you've said, Nigerians will still take it with a pinch of salt and say, hey, wait a minute, 20 billion. How can the NNPC show to the people that there are no ghost consultants that have actually taken 20 billion?
I think we should be careful the way we give credence to things that are non-existent, because we live in a society, especially in the age of social media, where people can just make any form of allegations to gain headlines. Now, in this case, it doesn't have any substance. It doesn't even exist. And I don't expect anything more from the NNPC other than the statement that's made that it's all false, it's all bad, and that it never existed. And people are so ignorant of what happens in the industry. You need to talk about even operations of agencies like Nappings. Nothing happens in the industry. No contract is actually awarded in the industry without it being published, without it being known to all of the persons who are involved, whether in the JV or as practitioners or operators. Right. So it's somehow strange that somewhat educated and highly informed members of the House of Representatives should not know that NNPC cannot, in fact, make any procurement of consultant services without publication, without.
Well, we still hope the NNPC will go a step further to, reassure Nigerians that all of its activities are very, very. But
I am convinced that they are transparent indeed. I am convinced to that effect.
Thank you so much for joining us on this.